have been on this stage many times as a presenter. I have sat in the audience.
Elizabeth Taylor's story begins on February 27, 1932, in London, England. Her parents were American, but fate had chosen for her to be born across the sea. From the moment she opened her eyes, people noticed something special. Her eyes were a deep violet color, unlike anything anyone had ever seen. They sparkled as if they carried secrets of the stars. Even as a child, she carried herself like she belonged on a stage. When she was 7, her family moved to Los Angeles, and that move changed her life forever. Her mother had once been an actress, and people often said Elizabeth should follow in her footsteps. Not long after arriving in Hollywood, a family friend introduced her to a talent scout, and soon she was screen tested for a film. Her presence was magnetic. Even the camera seemed to love her. It didn't take long before MGM Studios signed her, and soon, Elizabeth Taylor was on her way to becoming one of the most iconic faces in Hollywood history. Her early roles showed her natural charm, but it was National Velvet, 1944, that made her a true star. Playing the role of a young girl who trains a horse for a race, she captured the hearts of millions. At just 12 years old, she became one of the youngest stars in Hollywood, admired for her beauty, grace, and talent. But behind that smile was a young girl working long hours, carrying the pressure of fame even before she was a teenager. While other children went to school and played, Elizabeth was acting, rehearsing, and learning how to face cameras that never stopped watching. As Elizabeth grew older, Hollywood expected her to remain the same sweet girl everyone adored. But she was changing, not just physically, but emotionally. She wanted to be seen as a serious actress, not just a child star. Her transition into adult roles wasn't easy. People doubted she could handle mature performances, but she proved them wrong in movies like A Place in the Sun and Giant. Critics started to see that she wasn't just beautiful, she was deeply talented. However, fame came with its own kind of pain. Elizabeth's private life began to draw as much attention as her career. She married for the first time at just 18 years old to Conrad Nicky Hilton, the heir to the Hilton Hotel empire. The marriage lasted only 8 months. The world saw the wedding as a fairy tale, but behind the scenes it was filled with arguments and heartbreak. After the divorce, Elizabeth threw herself into her work again, starring in Father of the Bride and A Place in the Sun. Yet Hollywood and the press never gave her a moment's peace. She was photographed everywhere, and gossip about her love life began to overshadow her acting. Even so, she kept winning hearts with her performances and dazzling beauty. She once said, "Success is a great deodorant. It takes away all your past smells." That quote summed up her attitude perfectly. No matter how many times life knocked her down, she found a way to rise again. Elizabeth Taylor's life was filled with love stories that seemed to belong in movies. Her third marriage, to producer Mike Todd, was perhaps the most passionate and joyful. They had a daughter, Liza, and Elizabeth believed she had finally found true happiness. Mike Todd adored her and called her Liz, a nickname that would stay with her forever. But tragedy struck in 1958 when Todd's private plane crashed, killing everyone on board. Elizabeth was devastated. The pain was unbearable, and she later said that part of her died with him. In her grief, she turned to Todd's best friend, Eddie Fisher, for comfort. Fisher was married to singer Debbie Reynolds, America's sweetheart. And when he left his wife for Elizabeth, the scandal shook Hollywood. People called her names and the press attacked her mercilessly, painting her as a homewrecker. But Elizabeth, though deeply hurt by the criticism, defended herself with one of her most famous lines, "You can't break up a happy marriage." Despite the chaos, she and Eddie Fisher married in 1959. The union didn't last long, but it led her to one of the greatest love stories in Hollywood, her meeting with actor Richard Burton during the filming of Cleopatra. When Elizabeth Taylor was cast as Cleopatra in 1961, she became the highest-paid actress in history. The film was one of the most expensive ever made, and all eyes were on her. On set, she met Welsh actor Richard Burton, and their chemistry was undeniable. Both were married to other people, but their attraction was explosive. The press called it the affair of the century. Paparazzi followed them everywhere, from film sets to yachts to hotel balconies. It was a scandal that captured the world's imagination. But for Elizabeth and Richard, it was love in its most passionate, dangerous form. Their love story was intense, full of laughter, fights, and grand gestures. They married in 1964, divorced in 1974, and then married each other again a year later, only to divorce once more. Despite their ups and downs, they never truly stopped loving each other. Burton once said, "She was the only woman I ever loved." Elizabeth kept his letters until her death, and many of them revealed their deep connection. Together, they starred in several films, including Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, a movie that earned Elizabeth her second Academy Award. Though their marriage was stormy, it defined an era of Hollywood where love and scandal walked hand in hand. Through it all, Elizabeth remained a queen, beautiful, defiant, and completely unforgettable. While fans saw a glamorous woman covered in diamonds, the real Elizabeth was fighting silent battles. She suffered from chronic pain caused by a back injury she'd gotten as a child while filming National Velvet. Over time, she developed a dependency on painkillers and alcohol. She was also hospitalized several times for illnesses that nearly killed her. But even in her weakest moments, Elizabeth showed incredible strength. She admitted her struggles publicly and became one of the first major celebrities to enter rehab, helping remove the shame around addiction. In interviews, she spoke honestly about her flaws and mistakes. "I've been through it all, baby," she once said with a smile. "I'm Mother Courage." Her openness made people love her even more because she didn't hide behind perfection. Elizabeth also had a soft heart for others. She was known for her kindness to friends, her loyalty, and her fierce protectiveness of those she loved. Despite her fame, she never lost touch with her humanity. Behind the diamonds and fame, she was just a woman searching for love, peace, and acceptance. In the 1980s, as her acting career slowed, Elizabeth Taylor discovered a new purpose. When her dear friend, actor Rock Hudson, died of AIDS in 1985, she was heartbroken. Not just because she lost a friend, but because of the cruelty and silence surrounding the disease. She decided to take action. At a time when many were too afraid to even talk about AIDS, Elizabeth became one of the first celebrities to speak out. She co-founded the American Foundation for AIDS Research, AMFAR, and later established the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation. Her activism was bold and brave. She used her fame and wealth to raise millions of dollars for research and care. Many called her the woman who made America care about AIDS. She proved that beauty meant nothing without compassion. Elizabeth didn't care about criticism. She had faced worse before. Her strength, once used to survive Hollywood scandals, was now used to save lives. Through her work, she transformed her image from a glamorous actress to a humanitarian icon. This period showed a new side of Elizabeth, wiser, more grounded, and dedicated to making a real difference. In her later years, Elizabeth faced more health problems. She had more than 30 surgeries throughout her life and used a wheelchair in her final decade. Still, she never lost her spirit or humor. She continued to attend events, raise funds for AIDS research, and support her foundation. Her friends described her as funny, direct, and full of life. Even as her body weakened, her presence filled every room she entered. Her friendship with stars like Michael Jackson became another chapter of public fascination. She defended him fiercely when others criticized him, saying she saw a kind, gentle soul behind the fame. Elizabeth also never stopped loving love. Though she married 8 times, she said, "I don't regret any of them. Every marriage taught me something." In 2011, after decades of surviving illnesses, heartbreak, and fame, Elizabeth Taylor passed away at age 79 from heart failure. She left behind 4 children, 10 grandchildren, and a legacy that few could match. In true Elizabeth fashion, she made sure to arrive late even to her own funeral. As she once joked, she wanted to be late for her own funeral. Even after her death, Elizabeth Taylor's name continues to shine. She was more than a movie star. She was a symbol of beauty, resilience, and courage. Her performances in films like Cleopatra, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf remain timeless. But beyond her acting, it was her heart that defined her legacy. Her activism for AIDS awareness saved countless lives and changed how the world saw the disease. Her foundation still operates today, helping people around the globe. Elizabeth Taylor taught the world that being glamorous doesn't mean being shallow, that strength and kindness can exist behind the brightest diamonds. She faced public judgment, heartbreak, and pain, but always stood tall. Her story is one of survival, love, and compassion. Elizabeth Taylor's name has never left the world's lips, even years after her death. She wasn't just an actress or a star. She became a symbol of timeless beauty, rebellion, and humanity. Unlike many who came before her, Elizabeth didn't let Hollywood define her. She defined Hollywood itself. When the golden age of cinema faded and many stars disappeared from memory, Elizabeth remained alive in photographs, interviews, and the memories of those who watched her rise and fall and rise again. Her violet eyes, her laughter, and her honesty turned her into something more than mortal, a living legend. Every generation seems to rediscover her. Young people who were born long after she passed still share her quotes online, use her pictures as fashion inspiration, and watch her movies to understand what true star power looked like. Elizabeth Taylor was not the kind of celebrity created by social media or clever marketing. Her fame came from something much rarer, an unexplainable magnetism, a glow that came from within. Whether she was dressed in diamonds or lying in a hospital bed, she always had the same fiery energy that drew people toward her. She showed the world that beauty can fade, but charisma never dies. Elizabeth's love for jewelry became as legendary as her films. She didn't just wear diamonds, she made them part of her identity. Her collection included some of the most famous gems in the world, like the 33-carat Krupp diamond, the Taj Mahal diamond, and the 69-carat Taylor Burton diamond, a gift from Richard Burton. To her, jewelry was more than decoration. It was a memory. Each gem represented a story, a love, or a moment in her life. She once said, "Big girls need big diamonds." And for Elizabeth, it wasn't about the price, it was about celebrating her strength. People sometimes mocked her for her love of luxury, but what many didn't see was how much she gave away quietly. She often auctioned her jewels to raise money for charity, including millions for AIDS research. After her death, her entire jewelry collection was sold at Christie's for over $156 million, and a large portion went to her foundation. Those diamonds that once glittered on her fingers and around her neck continued to shine, this time lighting the lives of others in need. In that sense, her jewels didn't just symbolize glamour. They symbolized the generosity of a woman who turned beauty into kindness. One of Elizabeth's most overlooked qualities was her loyalty. She never abandoned her friends, even when the world did. When Rock Hudson fell ill and many of Hollywood's elite distanced themselves because of the stigma of AIDS, Elizabeth stood by him publicly. At a time when even saying the word AIDS could destroy a career, she embraced it openly. She didn't care about what people thought. Her love for her friends was stronger than fear. Another example of her loyalty was her friendship with Michael Jackson. Their bond was unusual. He was the king of pop, she was the queen of Hollywood, but they understood each other. Both had grown up in the spotlight, both had faced loneliness behind fame. Elizabeth defended him during his darkest times, attending his trials and calling out the media's cruelty. Michael once said she was one of the most loving, loyal, and brave people I've ever known. Their friendship lasted until his death in 2009, and Elizabeth was one of the few who truly seemed to understand his pain. She also cared deeply for her family. Despite her fame, Elizabeth made sure her 4 children, Michael, Christopher, Liza, and Maria, were always a priority. They remembered her as a fun, funny, and fiercely loving mother. Even in her final years, when illness made it hard for her to move, she would call and check on them daily. Her children often said that to them, she wasn't a movie star, she was just Mom, the woman who laughed loudly, spoiled them with love, and made their home feel like a castle of warmth. Elizabeth Taylor's courage wasn't limited to her activism. Throughout her life, she faced near-death experiences and countless surgeries. She survived a plane crash, pneumonia, brain tumor operations, and multiple spinal injuries. In 1961, while filming Cleopatra, she was so sick with pneumonia that doctors performed an emergency tracheotomy to save her life. When she recovered and returned to the set, her scar was visible on her neck. Instead of hiding it with makeup, she wore it proudly, a reminder of survival. She once said, "I've been lucky all my life. I've had my share of happiness, sadness, and pain, but I've lived." That simple statement reflected her strength. Elizabeth wasn't afraid of pain. She believed it made her stronger and more compassionate. Every time life pushed her down, she came back with more grace. Her ability to laugh at herself, to forgive, and to move forward inspired millions. It's no wonder that people who met her often described her as real. Despite her fame, she